So, hey, Storm Freaks, it's Phil. We got a strange and interesting night tonight on episode 219. While Hurricane Helene is kind of working its way to landfall, we're going to be tracking that with our meteorologist, Brady Harris, otherwise known as Stormcat 5. We also have hurricane expert Dr. Jay Hobgood is back with us talking about that. But while we're tracking Helene, we're also going to be covering our show with TikTok meteorologist Andrew Markowitz. So we're going to kind of have a dual, awesome, great good time all on 219 of Stormfront Freaks Live.
Going green. Greenwich. Saddle them up.
You got it, boss.
All right, everybody, welcome to the most entertaining weather show. This is the award-winning Stormfront Freaks Live, and it's brought to you by our good friends at Windstorm Products. And I'll tell you, what a night to be talking about what Windstorm Products can do for you. But they're your one-stop shop for securing your home and business against severe weather. Having a little bit of that tonight, right? From hurricane hardware to storm protection, they've got the heavy-duty supplies that you need to stay safe. Is it too late for Helene? Probably. But go ahead and visit windstormproducts.com today so you can be prepared for when the next storm hits. Want to thank all of our Patreon members. They're all scrolling across the bottom of the screen. But big thanks to all of you that help support the show. You can join the team as well for as little as $5 a month. You can support us if you go to stormfrontfreaks.com. You can click on the Patreon link and find out more. We've got levels where you can get free merch, Stormfront Freaks merch, exclusive stuff that you can't get in our stores. We'll send that to you. We also have VIP levels that we have a waiting list for right now where you can actually join us in the show. But again, just go to stormfrontfreaks.com, hit that Patreon link, and thanks for being a part. We also want a big shout out to our YouTube members because, again, we've been going with Brady, Stormcat 5. We've been going live here since about 5 o'clock Eastern this evening covering Hurricane Helene. So, Brady, I'm going to quick kind of turn it over to you. You can do a little thanks and shout out to all of our YouTube members.
Yeah, guys, it's been a great show. We've had a couple new YouTube members. We've had Meg become a YouTube member. We've had Dave B gift a membership. We've also had PJ become a new YouTube member. Guys, I want to thank you so much for becoming members on the stream. It's been a crazy stream. We got a lot ahead of us. But guys, if you are watching for the first time, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. That helps us out significantly. If you do want to get access to exclusive perks like emotes, exclusive videos where I'll do updates and more on our YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that join button below. And for the low price of about $3 a month, that gets you all those perks and more. We've got a lot of big plans for our members in the future, including more levels. But once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is going to be a crazy show. Let's do this.
Yeah, so we'll keep checking back with Brady here as we continue with the show tonight and keep everybody up to date because I'm assuming that we might have landfall while we're doing the show. I think seems to be the opinion from everybody. So anyway, we'll keep checking in with you and Dr. Hobgood as well on that and the rest of our freaks. But I do want to go around and go ahead and introduce the co-hosts that are here tonight and introduce the team. So if you happen to be listening to the podcast, and kind of put a name to that voice. And one of the ways we do that is we find out what everybody's drinking. It's always happy hour, whether we're tracking a hurricane or not. Maybe not when we're tracking a hurricane, but I don't know. I am, but I'm going to go around the horn. Let's find out who's here. We're going to start off with our storm chaser and photographer, Greg Johnson. Greggles, what are you imbibing tonight?
Oh, man, I'm drinking coffee tonight, Phil. I'm channeling Jen Watson, drinking coffee. I'm driving tonight. I'm chasing Aurora storms up here in the Great White North, and so no alcohol for me tonight.
That's fair. That's fair. We'll give you tonight. We'll give this one to you. All right. Then we have our meteorologist and author Serena Arnold, who's been with us in Outbreak as well, tracking Helene. What are you drinking, or Yeah. What are you doing? You eating
Yes.
something?
No, I am. And I'm proud of this one. It is Rising Tide Brewery,
Oh,
Ooh,
Back
wow.
Cove for Helene.
Wow. Back Cove.
on
Is there
point for
somebody on a
tonight.
canoe on that? Is there somebody like on a
Yes.
boat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope tonight that's not what you'd want to be in. I don't think.
No, and no one's going to be seeing the moon unless you're seeing it through the eye of the storm tonight. So yeah.
That
So
might be the
appropriate.
time to actually take the boat out. Maybe is that brief
Don't,
time period.
Phil, do not give people ideas. You know they'll
That's
do
true.
it. Let's
That's
not
true.
do that.
All right, Brady introduced you already, but our meteorologist Brady Harris, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking
And
water,
how far
but
along are you?
I'm drinking water. We're far along. The big update I just want to say is so they just did the newest advisory, 140 miles an hour, pressure of 941 millibars. So guys, it's Hurricane Helene is still strengthening. This is insane.
Wow. Cool. Thanks for that update. And then I mentioned earlier, Dr. Jay Hobgood, former guest of the show. He's been it was Brady's professor, and Maz, who's not on tonight, was his professor. So there's a big connection to Dr. Hobgood, and we're certainly blessed and appreciative that he's able to join us as a hurricane expert as we cover this. But Dr. Hobgood, what are you drinking tonight? You got to be having something.
Well, thanks for the kind words, Phil. I'm drinking Diet Coke. As my students all know, that's my drink of choice when I have to work.
The classic. It's classic. Oh,
He is working tonight. I know we've got a good friend of the show and VIP of Patreon agent Dan Wallace is in the green room, and then of course our producer MJ is back there as well, running the show, giving Brady a little break. Brady, you get a little producing break here during the show. But so let's do this. I'm going to turn it over here as we introduce our guest. Going to turn it over to Serena. But again, we're going to kind of go back and forth with questions for Andrew and coverage of the storm. But Serena, go ahead and take it away.
So tonight is going to be absolutely an amazing show. I'm so excited to be able to introduce Andrew Markowitz, who's joining us today. He's a graduate of Penn State University's prestigious meteorology program. He works as a meteorologist for Excel Energy in Denver, but he's most known for his TikTok posts and his 114,000 followers. I don't know how you do it. I think it's absolutely amazing. So 2-part question for you. 1, what are you drinking? And number 2, how much of a flex are you going to make it that you picked the night Helene made landfall to be in our podcast? Is that a forecast?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm honored to be here. Serena, I've been following you for a while. I actually saw you yesterday on the Winter Outlook for WSI. I thought that was funny to see not one, but 2 familiar faces on that. Todd Crawford and I go way back as well, so cool to see. What I'm drinking tonight, just some water. I actually just finished a 5-hour drive. I went from Denver to Western Colorado. I'm spending the weekend out here, just crossing off a couple national parks, checking out the foliage. So definitely need some water to rest and recharge. And then the second question is, we had this date planned 3 months ago or so, and I was like, yeah, pretty good chance there'd be a hurricane. And funny enough, it worked out. So, you could say that we predicted that. I don't know, things always seem to align when I'm about to get on a vacation or leaving a vacation, almost always.
I do seem to feel like that's a theme as well. So let's talk a little bit about like your TikTok influence. First of all, it's absolutely phenomenal, but I feel like there's an interesting transition happening in where people are getting their information. And I know with my very weak following compared to yours that I found that the messaging I was putting out there was informing people about the storm for the first time. I feel like social media is really taking a tremendous place in like as a news information source. How are you seeing that with what you do on TikTok and notifying people about the weather?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the number one motivation, I think, for continuing to grow this brand. I mean, the original reason I downloaded TikTok was during the pandemic. I started seeing funny videos that had nothing to do with weather. But the more I was getting videos on my page, I'm like, wait a minute, there's a very niche thing that's being discussed. Somehow this is getting hundreds of thousands of views. And I had the idea, nobody is doing this for weather. Why don't I try to take advantage of this market that has not been tapped into And so it took a lot of trial and error. It took probably a year and a half to get from 0 to 1,000 followers. It was very difficult to make videos and then not go anywhere. And then eventually, January 2022, we started getting snowstorms in Boston, and that's kind of what started to put me on the map. But then Hurricane Ian was really the first one that went from getting a modest, very niche size following to one that's, oh wow, like I'm actually making a difference in people's lives. Like I was doing a lot of streaming and making videos, and I want to say I reached well over 1 million people. And so that was kind of the moment there, a little over 2 years ago, where I was like, this is actually something that is going to change people's lives, because more and more people are moving away from traditional broadcast television. So, because of that, there's kind of a void in the market where the only way they're getting weather information is from a weather app, which, we love it or we hate it. I personally don't like it. There are problems with it. Or they're getting it from someone who posts an hour 384 GFS that shows 880 millibar storm. And it's like, that's where you're getting your information. So there are a lot of people that I think have the opinion of, well, it's a cesspool, we're going to avoid that altogether. But what I believe is that we should instead attack it head on and be that source of reason in the midst of, all this chaos or people trying to post outrageous things for clout. So that's kind of been my motivation.
Andrew,
that source.
Listen, Phil and I are of an age. So like I'm a 54-year-old guy, right? And so like getting the news from like the news is kind of what we do at this age, right? Phil, would you agree with that? Like we watch the news and stuff. But how many times have I said over the last year, like, oh, the other night on the news I saw, and what I actually mean was the other night somebody sent me a TikTok, and so I get what you're saying, but how do we avoid the disinformation world that we live in, right? Like how is the viewer, the user supposed to make that distinction? Because I'm with you, man. Like I think it's awesome. I love the format, but how do you weed out the crap?
It's a very, very tough question, and there's not really an easy solution to meteorologist. I information out there, and I try to position myself as the voice of reason. That is, when you have a TikTok, to grab the viewer in less than a second. If you don't grab the viewer in the first second, that's it. There's no chance of you ever seeing that person ever again. So you really have to grab. I just kind of go ahead and, I do my best to give it to them straight in a way that people understand. I mean, my goal at the end of this is, number one, people are informed and then they can prepare for inclement weather. But number two, I want to make sure that people can learn something. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who, they just, that are crazy. We know that they're not going to happen, that the science is junk. But the problem is, we, they may not necessarily know the truth. So a lot of that is just sometimes you attack them head on and be like, yeah, or like, and by attack them head on, it's more like I stitch a part of the video. I'm like, they're saying this, I'm going to respond to it. And in reality, it's more like this. So it's kind of tough. Like sometimes I think the approach is you respond to it. Sometimes you just ignore it. So I don't know. It's something I try to work on every day. Like there's not really a perfect solution, but my goal is to just get them the information and, hopefully more people can see it. Again, I feel like I'm always testing out a few different things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. But ultimately, I think I built up enough of a followers to say that some people at least, respect the word that I have to say. And I'm at least helping some people, which is all that really matters.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, you highlight so many of the problems with social media. Like I discovered you after I got into this, and it was so nice to feel like there was someone else on my side, because you do see these people who post the last run of the GFS. I've already had to talk about why Florida's not getting hit by 3 hurricanes in a row, because some person has like the little siren emojis all over their post and has that doom and gloom music in the background talking about how Florida's about to get hit by 3 hurricanes. It's like, why? And what I think makes me more frustrated about than anything is how they are discrediting meteorologists, because people think they're knowledgeable and they're not. They're fakers. They're false. And then you have these people that put this kind of information forward, and then it's like, oh, meteorologists are always wrong, or oh, everybody's getting hyped. And it's like, actually, the people who know their stuff are not the ones who are hyping it. It's all of, I call them mediaologists, because they do not know what they're doing and they're only in it for clicks and likes.
So was I not supposed to post that 3 hurricane post? Sorry about that. I didn't realize that was
Damn it, Phil.
inappropriate.
You say not a forecast, it's okay.
Inappropriate to do. So Andrew, you're breaking up just a little bit, but question for you on, I want to go to Helene here and kind of get your thoughts on Helene, and more importantly, how have you been trying to cover this on your own social media?
Well, first of all, Hurricane Helene, it's unfortunately doing exactly what I had suspected that it would. Even when things seemed to be backing off, there seemed to be dry air that was kind of intruding, which I think was related to Hurricane John. I saw earlier this afternoon there were some people that were like, "This is underperforming," but I always knew in the back of my mind this one was going to go to a Cat 4. I've been saying that for the past few days. Just I never really trust any storm that enters the Gulf of Mexico. We've seen it over and over again, and this rapid intensification before landfall. What was the latest update? Like a 941? Is that what it was?
Yeah, 941 with winds at 140.
Oh, boy. I mean, this is like the worst case scenario for the Big Bend region, which historically, for some reason, they've gotten fairly lucky. It's actually pretty odd to me that, this area had gone 150 years without a Category 3 hurricane, because there's nothing physically that would say, that's possible. It's just a matter of luck. So it's really unfortunate for a lot of these communities that will be impacted forever. But also, what's remarkable about this storm is its size. The fact that there was that update that said it was in the 90th percentile in terms of its radius. So the problem with this is the impacts are going to be extending far inland too. So that's covering pretty much all of Georgia, and then places like Tennessee, Western Carolinas, where you may grow up there your entire life. You may never even think about hurricanes, and yet this one's going to be a big deal. So one thing I'm watching now is, where Tallahassee is going to be in relation to the eye. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but it does seem like there was somewhat of an eastward shift, and perhaps there is hope that it could avoid that worst case scenario, but we got to see that. And but in terms of my coverage on TikTok, so I've been making videos pretty much every day since I thought it was a legitimate threat. I want to say since Saturday, from even before it was an invest, just telling people, okay, this is what could happen. These are my thoughts, but not going overboard like some of the posts that I had seen. And this actually got a lot of traction. Like, I had multiple videos that had well over 100,000 views. So this one was getting pushed to a lot of people. And then I was doing live coverage each of the past few nights. And with that, I was getting, at one time, like 1,000 people or so, which, I think is pretty good. And I actually saw Serena doing that too in other Mets. So it was good to see that it wasn't just me. Other people were getting on there and being forces for good.
Okay, Andrew.
So yeah,
I mean,
I've reached.
Let me. Can I jump in here, Andrew? So
Absolutely, go ahead.
with this storm, even while it wasn't even prior to it being categorized as a tropical storm, which it was only for a short period of time before it went hurricane. But even before that, the spaghetti models really were almost like unusually in agreement of where this storm was going to go, how fast it was going to move. I mean, the variation was like maybe 100 miles from east to west on landfall. And like, I can't think of another hurricane with that level of agreement in the models.
And it was a mess at the time. Like, it was just a mess. Like, there's something just, there.
Yeah, it didn't even look like it. It looks like some thunderstorms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about that? Like, when it comes to the models and the predictability in the course here, first of all, any analogs that you can think of, and also, obviously that improves your level of trust on the forecast.
Well, I would say I think that's a testament to how far science has come to say that, when you have a little cluster of thunderstorms off the coast of Nicaragua, and you can say with confidence that several days later that can turn into what we're seeing right now at the top of the screen. I mean, that is really remarkable to think about. And you compare it to maybe other fields, I think we have to feel pretty good about what science has done. There are obviously things that, we could be doing better, but I think we've come a very long way. And so in terms of analogs, I didn't really want to name drop this, but there are a lot of parallels, I think, to Hurricane Michael. That was another one that developed in that Central American gyre. It was kind of later in the season, like early mid October, and what was surprising though is like I looked at the sea surface temperatures and it was not impressive at all. Like you would have had no idea that that thing was going to turn into a Cat 5. But in terms of the track kind of going northward, being lifted by a trough and that rapid intensification, I can't help but feel a little bit of deja vu looking at what's happening with Helene tonight. Idalia, I also thought was fairly similar, but I'd also been emphasizing for the past few days that based on what I'm seeing, Idalia feels very much like a warm up compared to what we're about to see for various reasons. In terms of historic, I mean, this is before my time, but I felt like Opal could be a similar analog for Georgia. But yeah, I mean, that's
So
the thing.
obviously that's something that, like, I'm not alone in seeing that sort of that pattern and the consistency in the models. So obviously people are looking at what was the analog, like what could we compare this against? And I think, like you said, the science being as good as it is now, to be able to like days out, say this is where this thing is going to go, and this is where it's going to go. Hopefully it makes people in the future take heed to these hurricane warnings, get out of Dodge.
Yeah, what's interesting with this is too, I was hoping people would take this super seriously and get out of Dodge. And this is something we talked about on the outbreak a little bit earlier, is that I think there's a lot of people who were impacted by Ida in Fort Myers and in Cape Coral and places like that, that were absolutely devastated, that have taken this storm very seriously. But people who had the near miss in Tampa and don't realize how much they lucked out in that area from Ida have not taken the storm as seriously. And it's been a very interesting thing going on there too.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people just on Twitter, like from Tampa, that were just like saying, it's like, why are you hyping up? It's going to be nothing. And guys, I mean, we've seen it on stream. The storm surge forecasts have verified, if not exceeded, the expectations. I mean, there are portions of Siesta Key that have gotten 5 to 8 feet, maybe 10 feet plus in some of these areas. I was just scrolling through Twitter and it's bad. I mean, it is really, really, really bad. And that's not, I don't want to say the entire city is underwater, because it depends on where you are. But these storm surge values all up and down the west coast of Florida, unfortunately, are verifying. And so I don't even want to know what's how much storm surge we're going to get in places along the Big Bend, because that's, I mean, if the eastern portions of this is verifying, the center of this thing is going to, it's, 20 feet plus is scary to think about.
So Brady, I'll tell you what. So as we're recording this right now, it's 9:23 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. Why don't you go ahead and just give us and Dr. Hobgood as well, kind of a little update on right now where we're at with Helene. Kind of let us know what's going on and if there's any tornado warnings currently out there.
Yeah, we'll do. And Dr. Hobgood, I'll go first and then kick it over to you. So what we're looking at on screen right now, this is Helene. This landfall is imminent. So we are probably about 30 minutes to an hour away from landfall in the Big Bend of Florida. And we talked about Tallahassee earlier. And for those that are listening to the audio version, this is about 9:24 p.m. Eastern time. This hurricane is moving almost due north. You can see a little bit of a wobble due north. So Tallahassee, this is going to be really, really, really close. What we're looking for in Tallahassee is for this storm to maybe wobble a little bit this way so that we don't get the direct eye from the hurricane. Now, if this wobble would continue, this hurricane is actually kind of headed right at Tallahassee. So that has me very concerned for the city of Tallahassee, because if a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 140 mile an hour, guys, once again, that's the latest advisory, 140 miles an hour sustained winds with a pressure of 941 millibars. Guys, if Tallahassee takes a direct hit from a hurricane like that, that is devastating. That'll knock out power to millions. That'll do a bunch of damage, and you really don't want to see that for the city of Tallahassee. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. We also have tornado warnings up here in portions of Savannah. Georgia, and also Savannah, South Carolina. Sorry, and Georgetown, or sorry, Savannah, Georgia. My bad. And also we have about 3 tornado warnings right now. All up and down the South Carolina and Georgia coast. So that's something we're going to have to be tracking throughout the day or throughout the night tonight, because as this hurricane continues to spin, we're going to keep seeing these supercells come on shore. So we're going to keep seeing tornado warnings all night long. We'll be sure to keep you updated. Right now, all of them are radar indicated, except for this one near the city of Georgetown, which is an observed tornado warning. So that means the National Weather Service has basically seen enough to be able to indicate that there is a tornado, or there was a tornado on the ground here. So if you're just to the west of Georgetown, you're going to want to take shelter right now, because we do have a possible tornado on the ground. Dr. Hobgood, I'll kick it over to you right now. What are your latest thoughts on Hurricane Helene?
Thanks, Brady. The NOAA Hurricane Hunters and the U.S. Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunters have both been flying inside Hurricane Helene this evening. Latest maximum sustained wind speed is 140 miles per hour. The pressure is 941 millibars. So Helene is a legitimate Category 4 hurricane. It looks like it's going to make landfall as a Category 4 hurricane in the Big Bend area of Florida pretty soon.
Well, very good, and I'll tell you what, we're gonna keep checking in on the progress of Hurricane Helene. So we'll keep going back to Brady and Dr. Hobgood and others on that. Plus, when we're done with the live podcast show, we're just gonna go right back into our live outbreak coverage with Brady and Dr. Hobgood and the rest of the freaks. So just kind of stick with us as we go through this and kind of keep you updated on what's happening. But before we go to our video break, I'm going to have MJ bring in Chris White. Chris White is a storm chaser, but he also is the one that kind of started and has been running the Mid-Atlantic Severe Weather Conference. And we've been proud to be partners with them since day one when they started the event. But Chris, wanted to bring you on and give you an opportunity really to update people on what the conference is and where they can get information and get tickets.
Sure. Well, I'm glad you're talking about the hurricane, by the way, because I have some family involved, cousins in Tallahassee, a brother further west in Santa Rosa Beach. And then I also have another cousin that flies with the hurricane hunters. So it's
Wow.
Kind of hitting home here.
Wow.
So yes, the exactly 1 month from today, we will have our 7th annual conference. So last year we relabeled it from a ChaserCon to a Mid-Atlantic Severe Weather Conference because we've added in emergency managers, we've added in severe weather researchers, and of course we still have chasers and broadcast and National Weather Service meteorologists as well. So this year we're actually partnering, or actually we're doing a crossover with the American Meteorological Society, because they're having their Severe Local Storms Conference October 21st through the 25th, Monday through Friday, in Virginia Beach, which is right down the road from our conference in Richmond. So we have our conference that Saturday, and we've co-opted 3 of their speakers for our Saturday morning conference. So we'll be doing that crossover with them. And those speakers will be Dr. Kevin Knupp from the University of Alabama, Huntsville, Dr. Ian Gimanco, who does hail research for the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. He'll be talking about his field research. And then we're going to have a virtual conference with Cameron Nixon. He unfortunately couldn't stay. He's going to be at the Virginia Beach conference, but he couldn't stay for ours. So we'll be bringing him in virtually. So those are some of the research aspects that we have coming in for that day. And then in the afternoon, we're going to have a storm chaser panel from the Virginia Tech Storm Chase team, talking to 3 different former storm chasers in different parts of their careers to ask them and have them talk about how that storm chasing field experience has impacted their careers, which I always feel like is important to get eyes on the weather, no matter what you've seen in the classroom. Then we have a broadcast meteorologist, George Flickinger, a chief meteorologist from Lynchburg, Virginia. Then we have Dan McCarthy, who is a retired meteorologist in charge of the Indianapolis office, who was also, by the way, was the first WCM, Warning Coordination Meteorologist for the Storm Prediction Center. He's going to be talking about the 1974 super outbreak, which this is the 50th year, the 50th anniversary. So he's going to give us a briefing presentation on that. And then we're going to wind up with Tim Marshall. I think everybody knows who Tim Marshall is. And he'll be here wrapping us up that afternoon. So it's going to be a great day. We're going to be at the Science Museum of Virginia. We actually have a new part of the facility. It's called the Dewey Gottwald Center. And all that's on the website that you see there on your screen. You can look that up. It's a great venue. In fact, I was just there today. Phil knows I did a round trip to Richmond today just to check out, had to do our final walkthrough there. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it.
And for those of you listening, go to the website. It's MID, and then Atlantic is abbreviated ATL, severe.com. So MID, ATL, severe.com. And get your tickets there. And the Freaks are, again, proud to be a partner with you guys, Chris, and going to be sending you some little giveaways that everybody in attendance will be able to walk away with. So looking forward to being a part of it that way. So thanks for joining us. Those of you watching, stick around. We're going to be right back with some more from Andrew and Helene right after this short video break.
Mesoscaleforecast.com brings us StormNet, a state-of-the-art deep learning model designed to revolutionize severe weather forecasting. The innovative tool is tailored to provide unparalleled real-time predictions of severe weather events, including probability of wind, hail, and tornadoes. And now they've added Hurricane Vision, a cutting-edge hurricane track and intensity prediction system that uses deep artificial intelligence to predict the track and future intensity of tropical cyclones. You've seen us use it on our Storm Front Freaks live outbreak coverage with meteorologist Stormcat 5. Now you can use it as well. Visit Mesoscaleforecast.com and access live data subscriptions. Plus, when you enter the code Stormfront, you'll receive a 10% discount for life. Yes, for life. Go to Mesoscaleforecast.com.
The Stormfront Freaks is now available on the Weather Store. Come shop our catalog of shirts, hats, and hoodies, all with our Stormfront Freaks logo and Outbreak logo. Plus, you'll find all your other favorite weather geek and storm chasing gear, footwear, and accessories. Visit the Weather Store at thewxstore.com, the exclusive supplier of the Stormfront Freaks.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Stormfront Freaks podcast and also Outbreak. Guys, I just wanted to quickly update the group. I just found this pretty crazy camera. First of all, I don't know why there's someone driving right now in this, but the winds, this is a camera just to the north of Cedar Key, Florida, where the winds are really, really starting to pick up, guys, as this eye wall really inches closer to the coast. We're going to see scenes more and more like this from the traffic cameras as we go throughout the night. We'll keep an eye on this camera. Now let's get back to Andrew.
So Andrew, I know I want to go back to TikTok a little bit. You said you kind of adopted that really early. I want to know, like, do you have any fears of all of this China and people potentially banning it, if that's kind of where you've really planted your social flag?
My bigger concern would definitely for it to be banned. I feel like I've tried not only to be on TikTok, but also to go to other platforms like Instagram, YouTube, but I found that none of those have really taken off the same way. And so, again, a lot of that is experimental. So I feel like if TikTok goes away, I would try to adapt in the other spaces, but that's been by far the most successful for me. In terms of the China stuff, I mean, that's actually a reason why I didn't get TikTok originally. because I was like, I wasn't sure how safe this would be. Ultimately, I decided that the pros outweighed the cons. It's something that's still in the back of my mind.
Very good. So, Greggles, I see you shaking and nodding your head up and down, because I know you're a big TikTok adopter. But I guess I want to jump to Serena, because Serena of all of us probably is the most adept at TikTok that we've all
She's
figured
tried to
out.
teach Phil and I how to
Yeah.
do it.
She's a pro. Oh, we're not. No, we're not going there. We're not.
We
going
just
there.
let
We're not
Serena
showing
do it
that
all.
TikTok.
So I want to because I want to get some tips, and I want to use this opportunity to get some secret tips from both Andrew and Serena, kind of find out what they've discovered works and things that are good that maybe all of our viewers and listeners might be able to adapt as well. So Serena, I'll start with you first on just sharing some things that you've discovered with TikTok that work really well for you.
Yeah, so for me, for TikTok, I think the biggest thing is just being genuine. The more effort I put into producing something, to record it and edit it and do all that, the less well it does. The more I wake up and roll out of bed and hear there's a big weather story, put my camera on selfie mode and probably haven't even wiped the day before is like mascara off the under part of my eyes, takes off. And it's, I know, Greg, you have the same problem.
I had the same problem.
Got to
all the
wipe
time.
that mascara off
I
every
know.
morning.
So I think there's just like an authenticity part to it. And, just like Andrew was saying, I post on Facebook, I post on Instagram, on YouTube, I've been doing all these other places, but it just hasn't taken off like it is on TikTok. And for me, I think a big part of that is I include a lot of what I do on STEM pages, so the science, technology, engineering, math, and they have an entire STEM feed. And I'll get comments all the time where people say that they found me just on the STEM feed because I will talk about just generic weather stuff. It's not always forecasts. And so, as weird as it sounds, TikTok's the last social media I got on, and it was actually a bunch of mom friends that told me I should do it because of the stuff I was already posting. And they said, "Oh, your stuff would be perfect for TikTok." And I was like, one, I don't need another social media. And two, I think that one's going away because of our US government. But it's still here and I'm still on it. And it is doing the best by far. And I wish I could tell you more secrets as to why it's working. Genuinely, I don't quite know, but I do know that the more authentic what I do is and the more relevant it is, and almost the more sciencey and geeky I can get about it, the more my stuff is promoted for some reason.
Phil, the reason I was kind of nodding my head and smiling, I'm watching Radar here right now, and I think it might be a good time to just have Dr. Hobgood and Andrew chime in. And Brian Dillon, one of our viewers, just made the comment that the eye wall looks to be getting rectangular. And there's a noticeable kind of collapse that's going on in that eye wall at the moment as we get closer to land. Guys, what's happening here?
Yeah, I agree. The eye wall that we're looking at right now, and Dr. Hobgood, I'll go to you right after this. But if we zoom in on the eye wall, right, it does look a little bit, you see that right at the last frame. It almost looks like, I don't want to say it's falling apart, but Dr. Hobgood, I think you should weigh in on this, because I'm going to be honest. I see the rectangular look, but I also see the eye wall to the north have an unbelievable amount of lightning. I actually think this could be still trying to strengthen. And there's a little bit of a wobble just due west. It's almost going north, and then a little bit of a wobble just in the last frame, a little bit of a westward wobble, which is not good for the folks in Tallahassee. But when you see this, Dr. Hobgood, what do you think is going on? Do you think there's a little bit decreasing, or do you think that's just the eye wall possibly increasing in strength?
I was wondering if maybe those trying to form in the eye wall, because now it's 140 miles an hour, pressure's 941 millibars. The other thing is, you do have a little bit of that drier air wrapping around the southern side of the eye wall. So there may be two things going on at the same time. Drier air may be trying to weaken a little bit, but the mesovortices in the eye wall, because it's so strong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think there's probably two, Greg, to your point, and I'd be curious to see what you think too, Greg. But this is a dangerous storm, right? I think regardless of whether the eye is weakening or increasing in strength, I think we are going to have catastrophic storm surge come on shore very shortly, if not imminently, for the Big Bend of Florida. We've seen it up and down the coast.
Look at those.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
If you just looked at the last, 8 or 10 scans, you would believe that this hurricane is now moving north and possibly even, slightly northwest.
Yeah.
If you just looked at the last 8 or 10, over the longer haul, that's obviously not the case, but that's what it looks like to me right now, is that it's maybe made a slight change in direction towards the north.
And it's going to end up taking longer to make landfall.
Yeah, and not only that.
I mean, I was supposed to work through landfall, but they like, I need a break.
Yeah, not only that, guys, but like we are so close to this being a almost I don't want to say worst case, but almost worst case for Tallahassee, right? If they just issued an extreme wind warning for portions of the Big Bend, so there is a significant wind of 100 miles an hour to 140, right? The sustained winds is about 140 mile winds are about to impact the city of Tallahassee if this thing doesn't change course.
Well, here's a good question. Yeah. Here's a good question for Andrew and Dr. Hobgood. Tallahassee is about 25 miles inland from the coast. How much does 25 miles impact those hurricane wind speeds when it gets on overland?
Yeah, I mean, certainly once you get over land, you're going to be having some degree of land friction that would weaken the storm. Now, the angle at which it comes into Tallahassee is, I think, what's going to be the most important thing here. If that eye wall does get into Tallahassee and you get the most extreme winds, or if it ends up making that slight jog to the east and avoiding, I mean, when we talk about the track, for the vast majority of people, the track really does not matter because it's such a large storm. But for Tallahassee, that could actually make all the difference here. So, I mean, as you go further into land, you will get weakening. So, therefore, you may not get the absolute most extreme winds. But Tallahassee's not that far. I mean, you're absolutely going to be talking about well over hurricane intensity pretty far inland. Maybe Dr. Hobgood has an idea as to how much it would weaken to some extent. I mean, again, I'm not saying it would be the most extreme thing, but yeah, I would certainly be bracing for hurricane force winds, even well inland too.
I think North Florida will definitely see hurricane force winds, probably all the way up into central Georgia. The hurricane warnings extend as far inland as Macon. I mean, they're not that far south of Atlanta, and so big and intensifying almost up to the point of landfall. It's going to take longer to weaken.
Yeah, I do want to add one more thing too. So one thing that you've noticed is how much this storm has accelerated. I believe, is it still going more than 20 miles per hour at this point?
Yes.
So,
Yep.
It is.
It was like 23 or 25 last I heard.
So that is a bit of a
23
double-edged
miles
sword.
an hour.
Yep. So that is kind of a double-edged sword in this case, because on one hand, that means it's not going to be like a Harvey situation where the storm stalls out for days. It's basically going to be like, okay, one day and then the next day things should be clearing up. However, the one problem with that, and that's the reason we're seeing the hurricane warnings extend so far inland, is because, well, it's an intensifying hurricane and it's basically going to beat the clock of when you would normally see these storms die out. So that's kind of a reason why I think this inland wind threat is much greater than we typically see. Just another reason why I think Helene is going to be more impactful than other storms. It's certainly going to be one for the books, but that forward speed in this case, I think, is actually going to be a detriment as opposed to a good thing, at least for the areas in Georgia and Florida near the landfall.
I agree totally. And so Greg made the point that Tallahassee. Oh no, I hear the thunder.
No, go ahead. You finish it up.
All right, Tallahassee, you said is like 25 miles inland. The storm's traveling at 25 miles an hour. An hour after it makes landfall, it's going to be impacting Tallahassee. That is not enough time for significant weakening. That's all.
Cool. Well, folks, that was the sound. It's time for our lightning round. This is our game show of flashy and brilliant questions we get to play with our guest. And so in honor of Helene and in honor of Dr. Hobgood, who's with us tonight, We're going to play the good old classic hurricane or supermodel. All right, Andrew. So you're going to be new to this. The rest of us know what this game's all about. The first time we played it was with Dr. Hobgood back in 2016. I'm sure is when we had that first show. But what this is I'm going to give you a name, and you need to tell me, is that the name of a 2025 hurricane or tropical storm? Or is it the name of a popular supermodel from the 2000s? Okay, so hurricane or supermodel, that's what it is. If you struggle a little bit, Freaks and Dr. Hobgood can kind of help you out. Actually, Dr. Hobgood might have aced this, I think, when he did it. So no pressure, but we can always help you out. So here's the first name is Wendy, and you got to tell me, is that the name of a hurricane next year or a supermodel? What do you think?
All right, let me think about this. So 2025, that's the 2019 list because they go every 6 years. So, yeah, that's a hurricane name.
That is correct. That is a hurricane name. All right, the next, number 2, Daria, hurricane or supermodel?
Oh, no, that's supermodel because the D would be a guy's name. I think that was supposed to be Dorian, actually, or whatever they replaced that with.
Interesting thoughts, but it's correct nonetheless. That is.
Wow. Oh, I think you're in tough here, Phil. I think we got a ringer on our hands here.
That would be supermodel Daria Werbawi. Brady dated her once. Number 3, Natasha, hurricane or supermodel?
That's got to be supermodel.
Dr. Hobgood, put your guesses in the private chat. I want to see
Natasha
how many of these you get.
Pauly. Natasha Pauly, supermodel. All right, number 4 is Lorenzo. Lorenzo.
Oh, that is 100% a hurricane name. That was a Category 5 that was not retired in 2019.
Wow. I should have told you can't use Google. You're not using Google on this, right? This is good. All right. Next one is Tyson, hurricane or supermodel?
No, I promise I'm not using Google. I just have a good memory when it comes to weather stuff, or at least try to.
Well, hey, you're really delayed. I already gave you a name, but
like the chicken nuggies, like the nuggies.
I'm going to go supermodel.
That's supermodel. Tyson Beckford. Next one is Imelda.
Well, I actually remember that storm too. That was pretty bad in Texas, so that's a hurricane. Another one I thought was going to get retired, but it didn't.
There you go. All right, Pablo, hurricane or supermodel?
That's got to be a hurricane.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know any supermodels named Pablo, so I think by default it's gotta be a hurricane.
Wow,
so you're an expert in supermodels.
Pablo.
So that's maybe it's wow. This whole game was right up your alley. Like the two things you are great at: hurricanes and supermodels. All right, I'm gonna only give you 3 more because I don't think I'm gonna get you on any of these. Marcus,
Marcus, I'm gonna guess is a supermodel.
All right, then, but give me his last name. I gotcha. Scheckenberg.
You don't know.
Scheckenberg. Wow. All right, Hillary. The last 2. Hillary.
Well, Hillary was just a hurricane in California. No, I'm gonna say it's supermodel.
Wow.
All right, Hillary Rhoda.
Wow. What if it was both?
Okay, Andrew, before you get to the last one, Phil, just so you know, Andrew, we've been playing this lightning round for years. No one has ever cleared the board. No one.
Except Dr. Hobgood might have. Before you joined us, we played this with Dr. Hobgood.
Wow.
And I think he might have cleared the board. But all right, last one. This really isn't any fun anymore, to be honest with you. But the last one is Olga. Olga, hurricane or supermodel? All right, I gave it to you. It is a hurricane. Jeez. All right. You were delayed because your internet has you a little delayed. So I was like, are you typing this in and looking it up, or you got someone in the back that's flashing hurricane or supermodel at you?
Well, actually,
No,
I can tell you one thing that gave me an edge today. So, like during work, I was looking at like the repeating list of hurricane names, and including 2019. So I was like, all right, 2025, it's mostly the same. How much of that do I remember? I guess I remembered more than I thought I would.
You studied. You studied for this.
I inadvertently studied. Who knew?
Oh my goodness.
Well, tell you what. That regardless, Andrew, that was amazing, and it's great that you did it in front of Dr. Hobgood, who's probably the only other person who aced Hurricane or Supermodel. But let's tell our listeners and viewers where can they find you and catch you on social media, including TikTok.
Yeah, so my TikTok, it's at Andrew Markowitz 96. My Instagram is at Andrew Markowitz WX. Most of the TikToks that are shorter, I usually cross-post there or sometimes post other types of graphics. I have a Facebook page, which is called Meteorologist Andrew Markowitz, and then my X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, is at A Markowitz WX. But I would say among those, the best place to reach me would probably be TikTok and then Instagram if you wanted to pick one or two.
So TikTok until they shut it down, right? And then it's Instagram.
Well, unfortunately, by default, and yeah, I'm just trying to run out the clock as much as I can and see what happens.
Take it, baby. Run with it. Run with that ball. Score as many touchdowns as you can. Hey, we're going to take a short video break, but when we come back, we're going to cover our infamous weather fools and get some more updates from Helene from Stormcat 5. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with everybody right after these videos.
Hi, Stormfront Freaks podcast listeners. Did the release of Twisters get you pumped for getting out and seeing some storms, but you're just not sure how to get started? You can kick off your adventure with Girls Who Chase on March 1st, 2025 at the Storm Chasing 101 training event we call Spring Training. And if you register by October 31st, 2024, you'll get an extra discount. The annual Spring Training event, and yes, the pun is intended, provides accessible, entry-level, and foundational information and training material for storm chasers at all levels. Spring trainees will range from those who want to begin their chase education or brush up on the basics to more advanced chasers who want to learn more about in-depth specialized topics. Just like in baseball, we gather every spring to shake off the rust, refresh our skills, and get ready to hit a home run. Spring training is provided in partnership with the leading meteorology education organization, ComEt's MedEd program. This allows for the program to always be held virtually and remain affordable. Girls Who Chase is a global community, and we believe strongly in making science and learning accessible to everyone without the constraints of travel or financial hardship. And if you can't make it on March 1st, don't worry. All presentations will be recorded and made permanently available to registrants. For information on the topics, speakers, and schedule as they become available, visit our website, girlswhochase.com/spring training. That's girlswhochase.com/spring training for more information. We hope to see you there.
Don't miss Vintage Stormfront Freaks.
This one here, we do have a few dents in the new Suburban, but my truck, that hood's a trophy.
You might as well put 2 GoPros on there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what it looks like.
So I'm like, I'm going to drive this thing into a tornado, and then they all start laughing.
Good. You'll be the only sober one by the end of the night.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Remillard.
And it's Bobby Nichols with Outbreak, the Storm Chasing multiplayer game, and you're listening to the Stormfront Freaks podcast.
Let's take a drive under the moon. Let's take a drive under the somber sky. Let's take a drive under the moon.
Well, welcome. Oh, yeah, Greg, are you up?
Uh-oh. We are weather fools here, Brady. We are weather
Okay,
fools right now.
Go ahead.
Guys, this is our favorite part of the show. Every time we record, we stumble upon some morons doing dumb things with weather. Now, today Phil, it's just you and me, Phil. We got MJ's got a couple queued up for you. What do you got for us?
We got to pull the weight again, Greg. So first one I've got, this is from Matthew, and I call this, I don't think the heavy stuff's going to come down for quite a while. This was a soccer match. It's raining a little bit. That's, I'm going to turn the volume down on that a little bit. And you can see the rain's coming, and it's coming a little heavier. And it's a little heavier. Oh dear, it's getting wet here. And they're just still playing. Look at the trees blowing. It looks like Hurricane Helene. They're just, I think they're finally calling it. And you can't even see across the field anymore.
Wow.
Sorry, across the pitch.
They're tough though. Not like baseball where they get a little rain and then they stop.
Someone has to introduce them to something called a radar.
The visibility goes to 0. Goodness.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks to Matthew for that one. And then the second one I've got comes from Mikey. I call this chasing with an anus.
Tornado chaser.
And you just have to listen. Just listen to this.
As y'all can see, my tornado chaser is covered in armor. That way, when I'm chasing that tornado, if it starts slinging debris at me, I'll be protected. And here, on the back of the vehicle, I have my severe weather locating antenna that is connected to this satellite dish in the front of the vehicle.
My God.
I call this system my Advanced Notification and Advisory System, or ANUS for short. And as you can see, my anus has picked up a severe storm heading my way. This is one of my 2 augers. I will park my vehicle in the path of the tornado. And as the tornado's coming at me, I will get out and I will drill my augers into the dirt. Unlike that sissy boy Tyler Owens on that Twisters movie, who can hit a little button from inside the safety of his truck to make his augers go in the dirt. I'm a real man. I get out in the middle of the tornado and drill it in the dirt.
He uses his anus.
Let's test it out.
It is easy, dude.
Cheesy digging, son! Now I'm going to simulate tornado forced wind.
Oh my God.
See there?
Oh my God.
Now in them Twisters movies, them storm chasers had something called Dorothy. But you see, I got something way cooler than that. I'm gonna pull into the path of that tornado. And when that funnel cloud gets right over me, I'm gonna let my top down. Just like this.
Oh, smart.
Oh my God, he's
brilliant.
Then I will hop out of the vehicle and get out the much cooler version of Dorothy called Balls Deep. You see, balls stands for buoyancy and lift study. I'm gonna set that bad boy down just like that right there. I'm gonna pop that top off and I'm gonna go balls deep in that tornado. That tornado's gonna suck up all my balls. So I guess you could say that thanks to my anus, I'm gonna be able to go balls deep in that tornado.
That was the best.
That's
All
my
right,
tornado
that's
alert
good.
system.
That's probably enough.
Tell me there's a funnel cloud close by. Time to.
Oh,
man.
Bill, that's brilliant.
So thanks to Mikey for sharing that with us. That was good.
That's so
Awesome,
good.
Phil.
That's Ginger Billy. If anyone doesn't know him, he is amazing.
That's
I enjoy
brilliant.
that
Oh
person.
my God.
All right, I got a few here as well, guys. So this one comes from Saudi Arabia, where I'm guessing they're not super used to thunderstorms, but it's getting windy, so they're trying to hold the doors shut. These big glass doors.
Jeez Louise.
And then watch the other 2 guys. They're like, "We're out of here." They just leave their buddy, and then it all starts going.
That
to
first
hell in a
guy
handbasket.
looked like he got real dazed. Like that.
Well,
glass
I wouldn't
hit
be
him.
surprised
He
if he's
did.
cut, right? Like that's glass
Yeah.
flying.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could see
The other
him
guys
kinda
ditch
like,
him.
yeah. Oh my
That is
gosh.
wild.
That's kind of how I would feel like when we're storm chasing and you guys bail, you know, and you take off.
You mean
All right.
when you
Go,
take
go,
off
go.
when you float?
Go.
Okay, so this next one, let's roll this. This is where look at the window cleaning guy up top. You can see the
there
flying around, and then if you watch this is the one I thought was hilarious here.
Is that his hot dog?
What
Hot
could
dog
be
stand?
possibly so important that this guy is trying to
He wants his hot dog cart.
Oh my goodness.
It's
Handsome.
amazing
Maybe
how
he
many
had
of these
some money
videos
in
come
it.
out of China lately, though. I don't know if you guys are noticing that, but it's almost like every time you see one of these really cool weather videos, it's coming out of China. But I just thought that guy chasing the thing down the road was pretty hilarious.
Those are good ones, you guys.
Wow.
And this last one, let's put this one in motion here. So these guys are in Mexico City on an amusement park ride. You know, the one that swings around. You sit in the swings, and they stop the ride for whatever reason in the middle of this thunderstorm, and these people are getting pelted. I can't even imagine how terrifying that would be. You got to imagine there's lightning going on around. It turns out they were all safe. There was no worse for wear, but still, I thought pretty scary to be stuck at the top of an amusement park ride.
Why would you stop it? Like, what's the purpose? Like,
I don't know.
A moving object might be more likely to hit by lightning or something. Like,
and also to your point earlier, like, do they not have a radar? Does nobody have a phone with a radar that they can look at and go, hey, maybe we shouldn't let people go up on this ride right now? But anyway, that's
weather. Look at a carnival.
Yeah, that's Weather Fools for episode 219. So we'll have all of those posted in the show notes. And if you go to stormfrontfreaks.com and you go to show 219 live Hurricane Helene coverage, you will find all of those Weather Fools.
So awesome. So, hey, that just about does it for this hybrid episode of Stormfront Freaks Live and Outbreak. Thanks for tuning in, watching, or listening. And however it is you might take our content. But if you would, please follow or subscribe to the show, whether you're on YouTube, you're on your podcast player, whatever it might be. It just helps other people find us and learn more about us as well. Special thanks to our guest tonight, Andrew Markowitz. So thank you to Andrew for joining us this evening.
Thanks, Andrew.
Let's go around the horn here, freaks. Find out how people can follow you as well. Greggles, I'll start with you.
On social media, Tornado Greg, and also cameraeasy.ca if you want to learn how to use your camera.
Very good. All right, Dina.
I'm Lady Pilot 70. That's pretty much the easiest one you can remember. It's on everything.
Pretty simple. All right, Brady.
Stormcat5_.
Wow, sexy.
Don't forget the underscore.
Something.
All right, Serena, you got to follow that. Yeah,
I got a book. Maybe want to talk about a book. So everything is WX Serena, WXCYRENA. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter sometimes.
You know what you need to do sometimes, Serena? You should write a children's book about hurricanes, because that would be perfect if you did.
You know, Future Phil reached out to me and told me about this episode, which is why we got Andrew when we put all this thing together. But I did. I wrote a book called The Hurricane Story that is meant to help teach kids and adults, actually, all about storms and how they form and everything like that. But what's cool is I really wanted it to be a learning resource. And you'd be surprised how many times today I have referenced my own book. I've got 2 pages of hurricane term glossaries in here. I have the Saffir-Simpson scale, explain the difference between hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones. It's an educational piece. You can get it at francisfoxstories.com or find me on any of those social media places and tell me you want a copy and we'll hook you up.
That sounds good. You can typically find me on Twitter at Stormfront Freak is usually the account I typically use the most. But here's what's exciting, guys. Next episode, it's going to be a podcast takeover. We're going to be doing some podcast takeovers this fall and into next year, where our co-hosts are going to get their own show. They can do whatever the hell they want with the show. Well,
oh God,
we should be careful before I say that. But they're gonna be allowed to run the show and design the show and create the show however they want. And so this is going to be exciting. I don't even know what to expect from all of this. But our first podcast takeover is going to be from Serena. So as I understand this, she's putting it together now, but I hear it's going to focus on weather apps. Is that right?
Yeah,
any
it
other
is.
little tidbits you want to share?
Yeah, so trying to put together having a couple different guests from a couple different popular weather apps to just talk about the strengths and weaknesses of them and have it be an educational piece a little bit while we have some fun about how weather apps work, what they're really good at, and honestly what they suck at as well, to be totally blatantly honest. So we've got a couple cool guests. I have a verbal acceptance from Matthew Capucci, who's from the My Radar and is a storm chaser. He was actually on that Midland Odessa storm with us, and turns out he's a huge Stormfront Freaks fan as well. So we'll probably have him join us, plus a couple other people we're working on. It's going to be all about weather apps.
Cool. So that's going to be live on Thursday, October 10th, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. That'll be on YouTube, of course. But then you can also catch that audio podcast that will be available the following weekend. So for all you watching, just stick around. Brady and Dr. Hobgood and the Freaks, we're going to continue Hurricane Helene coverage as it makes landfall. But for Dr. Hobgood, MJ, Serena, Brady, Dina, Greg, I think Dan's back there somewhere. But I'm going to signal the all clear, and we will catch you right after this for more Outbreak. See ya.
Boom.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Stormfront Freaks podcast. You can watch our bi-weekly show live on youtube.com/StormfrontFreaks and download the audio version on your favorite podcast player. For links to our Patreon team of exclusive benefits, show notes, past shows, new videos, merchandise, and more, visit our website at stormfrontfreaks.com. While you're there, check out our interactive chaser radar from our friends at zoomradar.com. If you'd like to contact us with questions or make comments about the show, shoot us an email to questions@stormfrontfreaks.com or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Search for Stormfront Freaks. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time and tell a friend about the Stormfront Freaks podcast.